So now we're going to be learning about formulas and some of the basic mathematical operations that we can perform in Excel. And for this, I'm going to be copying this table. I'm going to select the table, do Ctrl C, and then paste this information in a different worksheet. So I can click on sheet 4, and for the paste, there is something I'm going to teach you now. If you want to paste something and you want it to retain the formatting it had from the source, you can easily do that by clicking on this drop down below the paste and then click on paste special. Then you select the column width and then click OK. Then I can go ahead and do Ctrl V. So that way it is going to give me the exact formatting as contained in the source. If you noticed, we did this summation manually, but Excel provides us with functions that allows us to automate these computations. So instead of manually using your calculator, you can simply do that using a formula. So let's quickly do the summation of these values and now treat formulas properly. So if you want to add up these values, you can simply click on the formula bar. I'm going to remove this 4,700 which we imputed manually. So the first thing we are going to do is to put an equality sign, and then you select the cells that you want to add up. So I'm going to be selecting the cells one after the other. So I'm going to select this first cell, then put a plus sign, select the second cell, put a plus sign, select the third one, put a plus sign, and then the last one, and then hit enter. It is going to give me the sum. So now let's see how to perform basic arithmetic operations in Excel. We're going to be treating addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So here I have a value here. So let me put this value as 10, and I have the second value. Let's call this one 50. So if I want to sum up these two values, I can easily do that by selecting the cell where I want the sum to be. Then I'll go over to the formula bar, put equality sign, and select the cells. I'm selecting this one, I'll put a plus, and then select the second one. It will give me the sum. So the next thing we're going to do is how to do subtraction. So if you want to subtract, what you do is just the same way as addition. I'm going to select where I want the result to be, and I want to subtract 10 from 50. So what I need to do now is that I'm going to select this particular cell, which is B13. Then I'll put a minus sign and then select 10, this cell. This is going to do subtraction for me. Then if I want to do multiplication, still the same way. So what I'm going to do now is I will select this and then use asterisk. Asterisk is used for multiplication. Then select the next one. It is going to give me the product of the two values. Then finally, we're going to look at division. For division, instead of asterisk, we are going to be using a forward slash. So this is going to do division, and this is the outcome of the division. So apart from selecting cells manually and adding them up using the plus sign, you can simply do this using the sum function. So if I want to add up this value and this value, what I need to do is, let me delete the value here. I'll put my cursor in the formula bar, put equality sign, then I'm going to write sum, and then put a bracket, and then select the cells that I want to add up. I want to add up these two cells, and then close the bracket. This is going to give me the sum. So let me go ahead and try it out in this table. So I'm going to remove this value here. And for this, I'm going to put sum, and then I'll select all the cells that I want to add up, and then close the bracket. This is going to give me the sum. Beautiful. Then another thing again you can do is, apart from using the sum function, you can take advantage of the auto sum. So let me go ahead and remove this. If I want to add up this and put the value in this cell, I can simply select the cells, and then I'll go to the formula ribbon. Here I'm going to click on auto sum. it is going to sum the values up for me. Then the next function we're going to be looking at is the average function. So have the average function. What is average? First of all, average is when you determine the sum and you divide the value by the number of items that you added up. So if I want to find the average between, let me say, 10 and 50, to do that, I can do it manually, and I'm going to show you how to use functions to do that. For now, we have the sum inside of this cell. I can simply divide the sum by 2. This will give me the average. But if I want to use the average function, I need to remove these values here or this formula here and put equality sign and then type average. I can select it from this tooltip here, and then I'm going to select the values that I want to determine the average. So I can quickly select these 2 cells, then close the bracket. It's going to give me the average. So let's say we want to find out the average amount. So let's put average here. For the average amount, we can simply put a equality sign here and then type average. Then select the cells that we want to find the average, which is from here to here, and then close the bracket. This is going to give us the average. So apart from the average and the sum function, there are other functions that come as part of Excel. So let's have a quick rundown on some of those functions. So if I click on this auto sum, this drop down below the auto sum, I can see some of them. This one is for sum, average, count numbers. We'll have the max and the mean. And for this one, these are the recently used functions, the functions you used recently. Then we'll have functions for financial operations. We'll have functions for logical operations. This one has to do with manipulation of text-based data. And this one is when you're working with dates and time. We'll have lots of functions that will help you work with dates and time. We'll have the lookup. We'll have the mathematics and trigonometry. And in fact, we have so many functions. This one is for statistical, engineering, cube, information, web, and so on. But before we conclude this lesson, let's quickly have a look at the max, the mean, and the count numbers. So let's start with the max. So the max function enables us to determine the highest number within a selected range of cells or values. So if I want to determine which item has the highest price, I can do that using the max function. So I can say highest price or highest amount. And to do this, I'm going to put equality sign and then put max and then select the values that I want to determine the maximum. So I'm going to be selecting these cells, then close it up. It is going to give me 2,000. That is the highest value there. Then if I want to get the least amount, so I have the least amount, I can do that using the mean. So I'm going to write equal to, then I'll have mean, then I'll select the cells that I want to determine the smallest. So I'm going to be selecting these cells, then I'll close it up, then it's going to give me the least amount. Then the next thing we're going to look at is the count. The count function has so many variants, so we're going to be treating them one after the other. So we're going to start with the count. And the count allows us to determine the number of cells in a given selection. So I can have cells with numbers. And for this, I'm going to put equality sign and then put count. Then provide a bracket and then select a range of cells. So I'm going to be selecting from here all the way to here, then down. Then I'll close the bracket and it's going to give me 4. So there are 4 cells containing numbers. Then the next one again is counting cells that are not blank. And to do this, we're going to be using count A. So have cells not blank. So I'm going to have a quality sign here, and I'll have count A. Then I'll provide my bracket and then select a range of cells. So I have this, then I close it. It's going to give me 8. So I have 8 cells that are not blank. But I can decide to introduce blank. So let's go ahead and create a row here, an empty row. And to do that, I'm going to right click on this row number and click on insert. This is going to insert a blank row for me. And if I want to remove this row, I can simply do that by right clicking there and clicking on delete. But for now, we just want to introduce a blank row. So I'm going to simply click here, then click on insert. And so far, it's still showing me 4 for cells with numbers and 8 for cells that are not blank. Then we can count for blank cells. So let's see how to determine the number of blank cells. So have blank cells. And for this, I'm going to write equality sign, and then I have count blank. Then I will select the cells that I want to count the number of blank cells. So I'm going to select all the way till here. And looking at it so far, we have 3 blank cells. So I'm going to close up this parenthesis or bracket and then hit enter. So now we have 3 blank cells. So if you want to count number of cells with numbers, you use the count. If you want to check cells that are not blank, you use the count A. And if you want to count cells that are blank, you use count blank. And you normally use this count blank, especially when you are trying to clean up your data. You want to count cells or check if there are cells without values in them. So if you want to do that, you use the count cells.